welcome back to W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Today we are back with another film from the bottom 100, aka the worst rated films on IMDb, rejoined by a very special guest. Before we kick off, for any new listeners, my name's Daisy, and as always, I'm joined by podcast's co-creator, editor and host Claire. Claire, how are you doing? Are you feeling very happy that we're back into the bottom 100 now?
I am, because I did some statistics and we've done more Razzie episodes than bottom 100 episodes, and that made me feel really bad. So I'm glad.
This is why I asked.
Glad we're back in the bottom 100. But also, oh boy, like this was a rough one, and these films, I forgot how rough some of them can be. This one, considering, whereas at least when we're doing the Razzies, I feel like it's 50-50. You get 50% awful, but you get 50% like, it's quite fun.
And also, like, you get to catch up on maybe some films that you wouldn't have seen in the last year. It's a little bit kinder to the soul, potentially. Whereas these are just, you know, these are bottom of the barrel. Whether we can reevaluate from our kind-heartedness or not, there's a reason why these have been rated on the download. So let's get into it. For this episode, we've got, and Claire, you might disagree with me, I think it's a podcast first. Joining us for back-to-back episodes, we have our very good friend and one half of the podcast is Paul Dano Ok. Matt Brothers is in the virtual building. Hello. Welcome back.
Hello, guys. Yes, this has all been basically by accident, seeing as I gate crashed Daryl's solo episode by nature of being in the house. That worked out well, so I didn't know whether these were coming back-to-back, so yeah, get used to me, guys. I swear this is it. For a while.
and also we kind of forced this one on you because the original film you chose, we realised we had actually covered it, was one of the Bruce Willis films, but we'd covered it in one of our Razzie episodes, and so as a favour to you, we told you could do this movie instead because we're so lovely.
Yeah, what a favour. I mean, I do love a little series watch through ahead of a new release, and obviously we have Scary Movie 6, aka Scary Movie, coming out this summer. And going into this, I'd only seen the first and second Scary Movies way back when. So most of these were a first-time watch. And yeah, oh boy, have you got the right one on the list,
which one? Do you want to let the listeners know? Obviously, there's always people do tend to see what it is when they click on the episode title. But just in case they haven't, do you want to let us know which in the series is actually the one we'll be discussing in length today?
This is 2013's Scary Movie 5. From Malcolm D. Lee.
I wasn't even sure that there was that many. This came quite a little while after the rest of them.
8 years, I believe.
Yeah, and it was definitely the longest gap. I think there was a little bit of a gap from, like, 1 and 2 were pretty close together, then 3 sort of tailed 4, and then there was, I think what you said, Claire, like a 7 or 8 year gap with 5. And we're looking now, like, 2013, I always think, that doesn't sound too long ago. And then I think, okay, where was I at the time? I personally was just starting uni of all the 2 terms that I was there. So it just makes me think, actually, the kind of films I was watching at that point in time, you would not associate with the scary movie of it all in terms of cinema history. So, I mean, immediately I'm like, are we flogging a dead horse here, and has that kind of genre already been dead and buried at that point, and is that why this one specifically didn't work?
I think one of the things that I read, and it's kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but it's all context, the reason there was such a gap is that they weren't sure what they were doing, and then Harvey Weinstein wanted to reboot the whole franchise, which is one of the rumours as to why Anna Faris and Regina Hall don't return. But also you have to remember all these other parodies are actually happening at this time. You're getting Disaster Movie, Epic Movie, Starving Games.
Oh, really? Was that at this time? I thought it would have been earlier.
Vampires Suck.
They feel 2000s, don't they?
They were all 2008 to, I want to say, like 2012. Like, they're all that blob of time. And so you're sitting on the franchise that reboosted the spoof and did spoofing of movies, and you're thinking, well, they're reheating our nachos. And so then they reheated their own nachos and made it 10 times
and realized reheating nachos twice really doesn't keep the consistency and the texture of.
That will do something bad for your insides.
Yeah.
Such as consuming these films.
a man in a boardroom, and I don't ever want to feel like what Harvey Weinstein felt, but I can see a man in a boardroom looking at those films still making money and how cheap they are to make, going, sorry, why are we not doing this?
Yep, absolutely. So I know, I mean, there's no ever jumping ahead, Claire, because we jump all over the place, and that's the charm of this podcast. But we usually do talk a little bit about our relationship. Well, usually we ask the guests to introduce and say, what's your relationship? But we thrust this upon them. So I don't expect you to have a specific reason why you wanted to talk about this today, but did you have a relationship with the franchise, and had you seen the fifth one before?
No, I hadn't. So I'd only seen 1 and 2. And my vague memory was that 2 was kind of hated by many, but me and some other friends enjoyed it for what it was, being with its separate sort of setting in this haunted house. And the presence of Tim Curry can only do so, does wonders. But I think it's a strange franchise in that obviously the first film is such a direct response to Scary Movie, and I know Scream. And
originally titled Scary Movie.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2 does quite a clever thing, because obviously Scary Movie 1 comes out in 2000, so this is around the time Scream 3 is kind of wrapping up that initial run of Scream films. So it caps all that off, and then 2 does quite the smart thing of going like, okay, well, what are the horror movie setups are there? Like a bunch of people going to a haunted house, and you can riff on all those elements. And then after that is when it gets a bit more thin, and it's instead of just riffing more on horror movie setups and tropes, like they could have, as we see in 5, there's a whole Cabin in the Woods element going on. They could have done the Cabin in the Woods scary movie properly, and all these other ones, but instead they're just like, I don't know, Signs, War of the Worlds, like whatever's out, and they try and link it more to being with the contemporary releases, which dates it all extremely a lot, and also limits the amount of horror spoofery you can kind of throw in. And I think is it the 4th one when the Saw stuff comes in, which feels like the first time when there's some new contemporary actual horror stuff to spoof really well. But yeah, and as you say, at the same time, all these other ones like date movie, superhero movie, Meet the Spartans as well, they kind of really contaminate the pool. They piss in the pool. And I think scary movies for a while tried to hang on to being legitimate horror spoofs until they weren't, where those other films were the ones that felt, to me, I've not seen any of them, were the ones that were like, we're just going to spoof whatever's out there, like pop culture as a whole. And then by the time you get to Scary Movie 5, it feels very much like it's more of one of those ones. And I don't know whether that's just the gap between 2006 and 2013 and going like, I don't know, or whether 2013 was just a bit of a barren wasteland for like new horror stuff. Like I know there's the whole new Evil Dead remake spoof in there, which was surprising because I read that Scary Movie 5 came out like a week or so before or after that came out, so they must have been doing all that based on the trailer. Like
they literally did. They rang them and said, can we see the trailer? And then they just copied it from the trailer.
God.
They do say imitations the more flattery.
So I'm kind of intrigued about the new one coming. Like I don't have much high hopes for its quality, and especially from what I've seen in the trailers, but at least you can say, given another 13 years distance, there is now a lot more horror stuff. In the same way that Scream 2022 was able to riff on elevated horror, A24 type horror, everything being about trauma. Now this new one, it's got a few more iconic faces in there, like Longlegs and Megan and Get Out and everything. Like I saw somewhere that said like, oh yeah, we're spoofing more recent films like Get Out. It's like, well, you mean that 9-year-old movie? But they got to catch up, I guess.
I mean, it feels like the new one is doing the good things and the bad things. I saw an extended trailer when I went to go and see Obsession the other day, and actually it was after rewatching all of them. It was the first time I saw it after my rewatch, and it made me a little bit happy because the gang's back together. The original guys from the first 2 movies are there. And also even the title, like it's called Scary Movie, not Scary Movie 6. I feel like I'm hoping that just like the first one where it mostly used Scream and then all the other references were just lightly layered in, I feel like this one is hopefully using either the Halloween or Scream legacy quills, and it's an entire parody of what is a legacy quill, which it feels like hopefully they are doing. But then in the trailer that I saw, they've got Kenan Thompson doing a riff on the Michael movie that's only been out for 3 weeks. So again, did they just do that based off of the trailer? So it's the best and the worst.
Yeah, I think with spoof movies as well, like they kind of died a death in the early 90s with like Robin Hood Men in Tights and Jack Clare Dead and loving it. That kind of all killed it there, and it kind of had a bit of a gap, which is why when Scary Movie comes around, it feels like a bit of a rebirth. But then I genuinely think, I know Daryl mentioned this last time around, that Not Another Teen Movie is the last legitimately good spoof film, and that's sort of 2001. And then I think what happens is we get something like Shaun of the Dead in 2004, which sort of is spoof, but is also its own thing. And I think films tended to shift more onto that, and spoofs kind of disappeared.
But it was like the meta commentary, is postmodernism sort of came in as like the main thing, right? So I guess it wasn't quite there when Scary Movie came out, but then you absolutely get films like even just Edgar Wright's films in and of themselves were a love letter to the genre, to certain like even just subgenres, etc., where they took a lot of those elements, pointed a finger to them, made commentary on them, twisted them on their head, and that was like the next 10 to 15 years of films. And that's why we've got to the point where we are in cinema now, where we have the legacy sequels and everything, because it's the snake eating itself sort of thing. But back at the beginning, everybody loved that style, so it was almost like it was an opportunity for the mainstream to become a lot more self-referential. So was there really a space for parodies to be there if they weren't being quote unquote clever?
Full
I
parodies.
feel like it's almost like they just got overshone a little bit. Go on?
So I was going to say, do you think the internet also plays a part in that? Like social media, like you've got to remember that Scary Movie comes out in 2000. We have the internet, but some homes are still on dial-up. We don't have Wi-Fi. We definitely don't have we have broadband, but not Wi-Fi, whatever way around it is. We don't have social media. By the time these things, coming to the end, all the good jokes are already on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, Daisy, you're a bit younger, but Matt, like, were you part of that thing on Facebook where you, like, joined a group and it was just the meme picture and it was just, like, McLovin, and you just, 20,000 people joined a group called McLovin.
I'm just trying to make a group out of it. It's like, join. It's like, great, what do we do here? Nothing. That was the joke.
Yeah.
You are now a fan of McLovin by being in this group.
Yeah, but we kind of created our own parodies through social media.
That's
then
so
I feel
true.
Like
creation of memes, like Scary Movie was memes before memes were born in the mainstream. Absolutely. I think we're saying how quick on the draw these films were to parody things that weren't out yet, but with the speed of the internet, you could think of that idea in the boardroom and it's already done. So you're always going to be pipped to the post by the internet. So yeah, it will be really interesting to see. And I wonder, Matt, you said they've got quite a lot of horrors to catch up on. I think that actually does them a big favor, because it means that they're not just trying to do what's now and next. They're going, hey, we're looking back at all of these, and we know that they've stayed within pop culture, like Get Out, etc. We know that they have weight and people love them. So we know that there'll be the references there won't just be I know that thing, it'll be I like that thing, and that's clever that they've done. So it'll be interesting to see what they've done there. But it's a very different era, and the other side of things is the political side of things, in that the Wayans brothers weren't involved in 3 and 4, and it went down a very, very different kind of parody route with the team behind Naked Gun coming in. So it was less around the gross out sort of quote unquote offensive humor, if you're a minority, that's the joke kind of humor, into very slapstick, silly but smart. I would say 3 and 4 mileage varies. 5, which I know we can go into a little bit more, I think definitely tries to dip its toe into a little bit of that Wayans humor, but doesn't go full in, and also doesn't quite have some of the smarter jokes from 3 especially. I think with Scary Movie reboot coming out, given how politics are at the moment, they're going to go back to as much as they can to the offensive gross out side of things, I think.
It's funny, like when I remember not liking 2. So I had seen 1, 2 and 3 before, loved 1, liked 3, hated 2. I had only seen 2 once or twice, and I'd never done 4 or 5. My main reason for not liking 2 from memory was that it didn't do any good horror movies. I remembered like the Charlie's Angels stuff and some other things, whereas like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer was so important to me. Scary Movie meant so much. But by the time I got around to 4 and 5, like, I thought 2 was awful on a rewatch. I did not remember how much, like, oh my god, you're in a wheelchair. That's the most hilarious thing ever. Oh my god, you have a physical disability. It's hilarious. It was so uncomfortable and made me really uncomfortable. But then by the time I got to 4, and especially 5, and there's just no jokes, I was like, I kind of miss the offensiveness. I think, like, I even wrote that in one of my reviews. It's like, it's not that I want to be offended, but at least they were going for something.
Right.
Like, I didn't like it, but they were trying to push the envelope. They were trying
that's true.
like, whereas I was like, these are just dry. So yeah, it will be, I think we got quite frustrated by towards the end of 2 with one of the Wayans characters is a closeted homosexual, and like, it's like, oh my god, I get it, he's gay. And then in the trailer for the new one, that joke is straight back there, and
that's
like,
what I mean.
Please at least let him have come out. Please let him be a proud homosexual.
So it will be very, very intriguing to see, and I'd love to do a post screening. I believe, Matt, this is on your... Oh wait, no, it's not. What's on your list for your birthday double bill? It will be Supergirl.
Oh, Supergirl and Jackass, yeah.
AKA Super Ass.
Super Ass.
Screening. So I know that we're sort of chomping a bit to get into the details of this film. So just to set it up, we are talking about Scary Movie 5 today. It, as we said, released in 2013, directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who's also known for directing Girls Trip and the Best Man series, written by David Zucker, who also directed the previous 2 Scary movies and is part of the team that made Naked Gun and Airplane, and written by also by Pat Proft, who also wrote the latter Scary movies and Naked Guns. It is a standalone sequel, as it was mentioned. We don't have the likes of Anna Faris and Regina Hall rejoining, all the Wayans brothers, although they weren't in 3 or 4 either. This is its own cast. So we've got Ashley Tisdale, Simon Rex does reappear from 3, as does Charlie Sheen briefly, both in new roles. We've also got Erica Ash, Katrina Bowden, Terry Crews, Heather Locklear, JP Minot, Mac Miller, Jerry O'Connell, Molly Shannon, who also had a previous Scary Movie role. She was in 4, and she was the Tom Cruise stand-in's ex. So she had quite a few funny scenes, or looks, or shots or 2. We've also got Snoop Dogg, Kate Walsh, and Cat Williams in this one as well. The synopsis, which is interesting because it doesn't actually specifically mention what films are parodied, but the synopsis is: a couple begin to experience some unusual activity, could that be paranormal, after bringing their lost nieces and nephew home. With the help of home surveillance cameras, they learn they're being stalked by a nefarious demon. And I think the way that that's described, you'd immediately assume that this is indeed going to be a Paranormal Activity parody, but it's also very much woven through with Mama and Black Swan, with a little sprinkling of Rise of the Planet of the Apes in there for the main plot as well, because why the fuck not? There are a few other films parodied in here. Do you guys want to throw any at me? I know you've mentioned one already. That was the one that wasn't released just yet.
Oh, Evil Dead, yeah. Well, I mean, we get quite a big Inception riff here.
Yes.
Which, just ridiculous. But I gotta say, whoever that guy was playing the Leo stand-in, he does kind of nail that.
Yeah, he did a good
job. Give that some credit.
I mean, my question is, had either of you ever seen Mama?
I watched it after because I hadn't seen it, and I was really
heard
curious.
of it.
Oh, you hadn't?
Oh, Mama.
No, I didn't know it was a film that existed. I was like, what are we parodying here? Because I'd seen Paranormal Activity. I've seen a handful of those films, but I was so confused. I had to get out my phone.
Was it the pregnancy test in the wig? You were like, right, okay, so this is definitely parodying a film.
I didn't know what was going on with the wig, and then she whipped the wig off, and it never came back. And I was like, was that a direct? And I was very confused. And it's not
Jessica
a film
Chastain in goth mode, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a film I'd heard of, and it's not one that people bring up regularly. It seems like it had good reviews and is respected, but it doesn't seem like one that has a legacy, so I find it strange that it was the main focus.
Well, it was released that year. It was released the same year, I think.
Again, Scary Movie, the first one, came out in 2000. Scream came out in 1996. You gotta let things brew. You gotta see if they stay in the consciousness.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a weird time for it, because at the time it would have been super early for a Mama spoof, and now, as you say, I think it is a bit forgotten, but it was quite a
Yeah.
big deal for that golden period, which was
Mhm.
maybe, I don't know, 2015 to 17, which was
Yeah.
because it was Andy Muschietti's movie, so he went on to do the It
Mm.
films, and he's quite
Mhm.
big now, and Guillermo del
Yeah.
Toro was very involved as exec producer, so
Mm.
I had these names across, and I remember watching it. It must have been one of those types that I like rented in like the last days of DVD stores kind of thing, because it feels like that, and it's that thing of this could be super cheap, but you've got a genuine sort of actor in it as Jessica Chastain, coupled with the
Nikolai
hot on TV
Coster-Waldau.
people you'd see at the time. Yeah, so Jamie
In a
Lannister,
dual
Game of
role,
Thrones.
might I add.
Yeah, and it's pretty good, and it is kind of
It's unique, I
iconic
think.
in Mama as a character and
Yeah.
Jessica Chastain's look, but nowadays, I don't know how many people revere it too much. It might come around when it gets to the 15th anniversary or something,
It
and be like,
definitely
oh yeah.
didn't have the cultural stamp that Paranormal Activity did, you know?
No, so Paranormal Activity makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
for a main spoof, and it's kind of a bit shitty how they kind of just blow it in the opening scene with Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan. It's like, I mean, they cram a lot of gags in there, and I gotta say, like, I had maybe 2 laughs in this film, and the first one was right at the start when she says like, "Oh yeah, have you done this before? Then what's all this?" And it's just rows and rows of sex tapes. I was like, that's pretty funny. And but then you get the sense that they are just burning through gags at like an SNL sketch kind of rate, and
To see
nobody's really. And I
fixed.
was confused because I was like, wait, Charlie Sheen, he's not playing the guy he played
Yeah.
last time, but he's also not really playing himself, even though he's called Charlie. Is Charlie Sanders here? So I was like, oh my god, okay, so he is just a new character.
I mean, the thing, I'm sure you both might have found this out in your research, but something like 60% of the final cut is reshoots. And so the original film, apparently the main focus was Paranormal Activity.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
And that there was a lot more, both Paranormal Activity and Black Swan. So I
Yeah.
think it was meant to be Paranormal Activity in the house, perhaps with Simon Rex and the girls, and then Ashley Tisdale's character was out doing the Black Swan stuff, and they would somehow intermingle, because there's scenes in the original trailer with Heather Locklear that never made into the film.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She's got like a starring, named cast role, and you can barely even tell that it's her.
Yeah, and Ashley Tisdale did ballet training for like a month and had a whole dance number that was cut. And they, in an interview I found with RadioFree.com, they like mention the reshoots all the time. And then in an interview for Almost Famous with Malcolm D. Lee, he also talks about how like the entire film was just completely destroyed by the producers, that he wasn't invited back to do the reshoots, and that he didn't attend the premiere, he wasn't involved in the edit. So I think that also makes sense, Matt, with what you were saying about like the burning through of jokes, because it did feel like that. They shove Planet of the Apes in there randomly in like the first 20 minutes, completely forget about it for about half an hour to an hour, and then it comes back for maybe 10 minutes and then it's done again.
It's like they just wanted the gag of, the narrator is the ape who's now smart. But like that's mad. It's like I can picture a scenario where they've kind of nearly got the film together, and then some exec just sees the trailer for Mama and goes, "Hey, we need to do this actually." And they're like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure why I don't know if you guys found out why they decided to do the reshoots. Because it sounded like it was just they decided to go in a different direction, and Malcolm D. Lee had already started on a new film, so they had Zucker come in and just basically redo it.
What some of the stuff I found, and a lot of this is like from Reddit and message boards and IMDb trivia, so it's all taken with a pinch of salt, but there does seem to be actual then statements that tend to back up a lot of it. So they were struggling for ages to get someone to come in and write and direct this. Supposedly they did actually ask the Wayans brothers to come back, but they were then doing their own stuff at the time. David Zucker, who did 3 and 4 and then is a parody king, just didn't want to come back and direct it for whatever reason. He just didn't want to do it, so he agreed he would come back and write it. So then they got Malcolm D. Lee?
Yeah.
Malcolm D. Lee to come. And that was one thing that I noted as well when doing the Rewatchable 5. The first 2 are Wayans brothers written and heavily footprint all over them, and they take a lot from black culture. 3 and 4 seem incredibly white, and you can feel they're gone.
Yeah.
They are so white. And I wondered, Malcolm Dealey is a black man who is most known for making wonderful black dramas and comedies like the Best Man series. David Sucker's a white man, so it's like, did Harvey Weinstein get Malcolm Dealey in to be like, we need to black this up again, like, get in here, let us do it? But in this interview it says he hadn't made a movie in 3 years, so when Bob Weinstein called him up about Scary Movie 5 and said, you know black, and there's a number of things in the movie that will require that, Lee said okay. On set, it turned out he was really just a backseat director. The producer, he says, interfered constantly. He didn't even finish editing the film. Right. So it's like they got this guy in to bring an ethnic stamp, and then I guess in the edit they were like, oh, actually, it's a bit, I don't know what they didn't like. But the final outcome is the most, and this isn't even because of Ashley Tisdale, but it is the most Disney Channel whitewashed thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And it's like, right, why did you hire a black man if you wanted the most white, offensive movie you've ever seen?
Yeah, I hear you. Because it's not even like with 3 and 4. I was watching it in the living room, and Stephen was like, "This has got a very Naked Gun feel to it." And then we looked it up, and we were like, "Right," because honestly, and I think Matt and I were kind of watching them very close together, making our group series
because I couldn't cope.
It was just so funny because every time I'd go on, I'd read a review and be like, "Oh yeah, oh it's Matt." Yeah, I'd always read the review before I saw who it was by. But I laughed the most at 3. Because of the physical, it was very, very, and I'd only like sort of got into watching all the Naked Gun films over the last year or so, classic, in preparation for the new one, and I've only watched half of the new one, but I loved the fact that I was like, hold on a second, this is very reminiscent, and I was actually laughing as opposed to just doing the exhale through the nose thing. Had they leaned into that again, although 4 was not as funny, you can at least say this is a brand of comedy. If you don't like it or it's not done completely well, at least you can tell what they're going for. Here, you're right. I think it's neither of either. It's not going for one style or another. I mean, I've pulled out a few reviews, and one of them was just like, it's got to the point where we're referencing Benny Hill. So it's like, which has its place, but in a scary movie, I don't know. I think we're usually, like you say, at least some of them early ones were pushing the envelope. Is referencing Benny Hill really pushing the envelope?
Do you know what we've not thought about at all, though? Isn't this peak Family Guy? And Family Guy completely destroyed comedy parody, self-referential side gags, and oh my god, this is like a really bad live action Family Guy.
I've never watched Family Guy, so
ever. No. Oh my! I just don't even know how you've managed.
Because every time I'd like turn over the channel to it, I'd be like, "This is boring," and then I'd turn it over.
You just never clicked onto BBC 3 in your life or whatever.
No, but I did, and I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And I would turn it over.
You've never stayed in a Premiere Inn and had to suffer through only having ITV2 and E4. Yeah. But and Benny Hill was a big long-running gag with Stewie and Family Guy, and like the bit that's made me think is the whole like vacuum cleaner beach party, which I was like, I don't understand any of this.
That wasn't funny to begin with, and it went on for like 4 minutes or something. I was like,
but that's a complete Family Guy thing, and it's like, Family Guy destroyed this also.
I think you're right there. Like with 3, like you say, when Zucker comes in, you get at least a bit of secondhand magic sprinkling. Just through nature of him being behind like the Naked Guns, but obviously it's a big step down. But what you have is you got Leslie Nielsen, who's never not funny, but also the special sauce that the whole series has apart from 5, which is Anna Faris and Regina Hall. And you realize watching 5 just how much, because I realized when I was watching 3 and 4, I was like, at least I could count on Anna Faris delivering the goods and Regina Hall being the funniest thing in there, and they are especially in 3, I think. But like, I think they're kind of what make it work. And you're right. I think taking them out of 5 leaves 5 as this husk of just quickfire spoof Family Guy sort of moments, and the worst elements of all the sort of offensive gags, because so much of it is centered around just being offensive in a way that I'm like, oh, is the new one gonna be back to that? Because they keep saying there's no line we won't cross, and it's like, oh, I just don't know. It has to be funny first of all. And I think that's the thing. I think there's some stuff in 3 and 4 that's a bit sketch, but it's kind of funny. Whereas in 5, everything it attempts to do is just not funny. So regardless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, sort of skipping ahead to reviews, like one of them mentioned, if we're talking about like, it's almost like they wanted to go there, but were sort of like holding themselves back. But then it meant that the offensive stuff really stood out like a sore thumb because there wasn't any other attempts at jokes. So it was basically saying that so this is from Justin Chang's review of Variety, saying audiences not inclined to laugh at the sight of a baby's head catching fire are encouraged to at least chuckle at the various gags made at the expense of Jodie and Dan's housekeeper, who was a game Lydia Porto, who satisfies many of the picture's comedic target prerequisites of being plus-sized, hysterically religious, and Latina. It's literally like, let's bundle all that together and just literally laugh at her any second of the way.
Yeah, that's the key. So much of it is punching down humor. That's it. It's like outwardly so.
But it just like, if you've got the original Scary Movies, if that was their shtick, whilst also being lots of other stuff that held it together, and at a time where that was a lot more accepted, this just feels totally out of place to have those random.
Well, I think the good comparison is with the first one with Officer Doofy. Like, oh my god, that's so offensive in so many ways.
When I watched it back, I was like, wait, no, I thought this was funny. No, this is awful.
I mean, I still found bits of it funny, but Officer Doofy was a bit of a struggle. But that's a literal direct reference to the character in Scream. He is weird. He is stupid. Obviously, they're
and infantilized in some way. Yeah.
They dial it up to the maximum, but it is a direct reference. Whereas I guess there must be a maid in Mama, but I doubt that she is overweight, constant. Right, so she's just come from nowhere.
Well, I think there's around that time, like Spanish horror was coming back into the mainframe as well. You know, we had things that were always linked. You know, a lot of the religious horrors were like linked to Catholicism, which then would always have an offshoot around some sort of Spanish culture as it relates back. You know, there was always that element with a lot of films around that time. So they would always kind of be, not always, but I remember these kinds of characters that potentially, like the archetype that they're trying to parody there.
But
I don't reckon the filmmakers thought that much about that. They just went,
no. I think I'm giving her too much credit.
But that's why it doesn't work, because they've just thrown her in. She doesn't link to the character. She doesn't link to the thing. She's not a direct key reference. Like, yes, Officer Doofy is offensive, but there's truth in it.
Well, that's why I found it funny. Woman. The funniness was, I'm thinking of David Arquette, and actually what they were doing with that character. Yeah, there's despite me being offended by Scary Movie 1 and 2, I understood why they were doing what they were doing, and there was a layer underneath which was referential, and there was an element of cleverness to it, even if it lent too far into this isn't really funny or just poking fun at people. Here it is just poking fun at people in really weird spurts, whilst also being unfunny for the rest of the time. So you're trying to do both in an era where parodies are kind of dead. No wonder this kind of
this is maybe the biggest example of a film trying to be built out of literally nothing, because I mean it's scrambling for relevance, scrambling for plot and gags, everything. When the credits hit, it's 73 minutes in. There is the credits
and it felt so
it just
much
drags
longer.
out the outtakes and the credits. There's like 15 minutes of it. So to get a 73-minute movie of which 60% of it is just cobbled together and reshoots, it's like that equals you didn't have anything to begin with. And it brings up that question of like, how important is an overarching story and plot to comedy films and spoof films especially? And like Scary Movie is the strongest because it was like mashing Scream and I Know What We Did Last Summer together makes perfect sense because they're both
the joke
originally from
itself,
the same writer.
right?
Yeah, they're just teens in a
it's
town.
A copy of a copy of a copy.
You can
so mashing those
them.
two together, you can really create something within it. And then they kind of struggle going on from that. And I think by this one, at least with 3 and 4, they tried to have an anchor film, whether it was Signs, I think, for 3 or War of the Worlds for 4.
Yeah, wasn't it Signs and it was Signs and The Ring for 3, and then War of the Worlds and The Grudge for 4.
That's right, yeah. Whereas this one, like, they abandoned the Paranormal Activity stuff of it. So then you are left with Mama mixed with The Black Swan and Rise of the Planet of the Apes, just to kind of be contemporary and mix stuff together. And it's like, maybe there's a film out there that could have benefited from a Rise of the Planet of the Apes spoof sequence, but it's not a fifth Scary Movie film.
Well, that's it as well. Like, that's what I remember pissing me off about 2, but on the rewatch it was much less. It's just because I'd never seen any of the main films, even to this day, that they're spoofing in Scary Movie 2, so the only things I recognised were like the Charlie's Angels, and so my memory of it was distorted. But in this one, it's like, why is one of your top 3 a film that's not a horror film? Why are we...
Yeah.
Like, War of the Worlds, yeah, it's not quite a horror, it's more an action, but aliens be scary. You can get horror out of the aliens.
Yeah.
But in this, it's like, it's just a film about an ape in...
The horror, there's a horror element right at the end where, like, obviously the apes release, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And they don't even do that bit.
No, they do.
Do they do
that? That's I mean, yeah, but you don't see them everywhere because as if the budget could stretch for that.
Yeah.
That's how.
Oh yeah, the guy picks him up. The other ape picks him up in the van.
Yeah. That was funny though, when he was like, "There's a mad demon in the house." He was like, "Matt Damon? I love that guy." That was one of the ones that made me go. So yeah, I really want to go back to the thought. I had a thought that you were talking Matt, about the trope side of things. So, you know, the way that 1 and 2 work so well. And this is another thing, Claire, is that I haven't seen the films that they're parodying in Scary Movie 2 either. It's almost as if they were using that as an excuse to do the setup of but they can still rely on the plot elements of those.
And it's haunted house tropes that even having not seen the direct
film,
it doesn't understanding the direct reference. I understand the theme.
Exactly.
It's the haunting, it's the Amityville Horror, it's the Exorcist is in there, Poltergeist.
I have seen that.
But they kind of take more of the vibe and do their own thing.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't need to have seen them to know the structure of what you're watching. And I think the same goes for Scary Movie 1. You don't have to have seen this. It definitely helps. You don't have to have seen those to understand this is a slasher. This is this kind of film. I think obviously the things start to go a little bit off the rails when it comes to 3 and 4 in that regard, and especially 5. But they had an opportunity with the Cabin in the Woods style, or stick to the found footage genre style or something like that. I think I'm actually really hyped to think about what that series could have looked like if they focused on the subgenres of horror each time, and then they pulled together those references, because you don't then need like one. You could still do 1 or 2 main that you could create the characters based on, but by this point we love Cindy Campbell and what's Regina Hall's, I can't remember what, Brenda, of course. We love those characters. They don't need to be based on anyone anymore. They can be still themselves. There's enough tropes in things like, you know, whatever the subgenre is, if it is a supernatural kind of thing or whatever, or even like a body horror like Saw. You don't need to have seen the film. It doesn't matter how much they go on that specific film's plot, because ultimately you're hitting the plot beats of the genre itself, and they'd have so much more room to play in that and have fun. And yeah, that's just a bit of a missed opportunity, isn't it?
I'm genuinely surprised that they didn't, because I'd not seen 4 until this watch. They only really referenced Saw in the first scene and then one scene towards the end.
Yeah,
I'm genuinely surprised that at no point no one tried to do a parody of the torture porn genre. Like, maybe they didn't want to invest in the prosthetics and that kind of stuff, but like I feel like that could have been, especially like I feel like the Wayans brothers doing a parody of the torture porn genre, I'd probably have to leave the room at points, but there could be a lot there.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a rating issue in like how much could they do that they feel was the joke that wouldn't have to be the majority would have to be in the unrated version versus the 15 version. But I mean, you've got dicks going into ears in these films, so who the fuck knows?
Well, the first one was an 18, right? Or was it 15?
I don't know.
I sold my DVDs. I made money on this, by the way. I bought 1 through 4 on DVD at a car boot sale at Easter for 20p each, so 80p for the first 4, and I sold them at CEX for £2.40.
Amazing. Wow. I lost hard. I ended up buying some of these because it was more cost effective than
like
renting.
80p for those 4 films. Oh, you've been played.
No, yeah, it was great. The DVD of 1 is worth 90p, and the DVD of 2 is worth 80p. 3 and 4 are only worth a penny each, I'm afraid.
Oh, so you only just made it.
Well, I doubled because I paid 80 for 4, and just 2 on its own is worth 80, and 1 was worth 90. And then I also think it was
That's grand.
Jason Lives I traded in at the same time, and that was worth like another 60p. So I was like, oh, £2.44 in my pocket.
Was it just a coincidence that you found them at the boot?
Yeah, literally, we were just at a car boot sale. Guy had a load of DVDs, and I wanted, it was free for 50p, and I was getting Drop Dead Gorgeous and Freaky Friday, and we were like, what else should we get? And then we saw he had 1 through 4.
That's
and
amazing.
My partner,
like, who the fuck has 1 through 4 on DVD?
I know. Well, because my partner knew we were covering this, and he was like, oh, I kind of fancy rewatching them all with you, so we were like, pick them up, and then it was really annoying he didn't have 5.
Yeah, well, who does?
5 is about £8 in CEX, so clearly, but I don't think they made as many. Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, and it should stay that way. So I'm just having a think about some of the. Do we want to just talk a little quickly about some of the other films that they've parodied in this? Apparently they did a Sinister thing. I think it was just a blinking you'd miss it.
I don't think I've really seen Sinister, so I don't know which bits that was specifically.
I've seen it once, but there was no direct thing I noticed.
Yeah, I think it was like a girl coming out of a box or something, but I don't remember that being Sinister. We've mentioned Inception. Ted was a big thing in the marketing, but that was only actually featured in the unrated DVD version.
That is the version I watched.
Right, that's not the version I got on Amazon Prime, so I had to look up.
He's just in this Black Swan sex scene, he goes down on her.
Okay, so no love lost there. And then we mentioned Insidious as one of them. It was
Sinister and Insidious. I get them.
Right.
Oh yeah, I think Insidious is the one I've seen, not Sinister.
So Sinister is the one with Ethan Hawke, where he's watching all of the old films he finds at his house, and it turns out.
Is that not Insidious?
No, Insidious is the one with a kid, and it's got Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne in, and the kid basically astral projects into a place and gets kidnapped by a demon there.
Yeah, Sinister.
Okay, I've definitely seen the Ethan Hawke one.
Sinister's the one with the really scary thing with the red and black striped.
No, that's Insidious.
Sorry, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay, so we can see where the
Sinister's
confusion
the thing
is coming.
in the attic.
And then Conjuring
coming
is
out of
something
the old...
else, Claire.
So I've definitely not seen The Conjuring, because I checked that recently. I've only seen the newest Conjuring.
Because I knew that you asked me before about the difference.
I think with Sinister, there's only 2 Sinisters, but Insidious is still going to this day. There's a new one out this summer.
Sinister, he finds all the videos, and that's really interesting, and they all die in the found footage, and his family are next. And I gave that 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. I like
Sinister, yeah.
Okay, and then Insidious.
Insidious is the one, and and I'll tell you how it's parodied in this film as well.
I gave it 2 stars.
Oh, that's a shame. I love the Insidious films. Lin Shaye it's actually Lee Wannell, so it's same guy that made 4 films.
My review just says shite, full stop. That's it.
Would you care to elaborate?
I had hoped I had, because I have no memory of this film.
So it's the same guy that did was co-creator of Saw. He's in it. But it's about this whole astral projection thing. What do they call that world? I can't remember. But she puts on this weird gas mask to talk to the boy, and that's why in this film Cat Williams wears the gas mask, which is it made me giggle a little bit to be like, right, this is that is silly. That is silly in the film, so it's silly here now. So that was one of those few jokes where I was just like, oh, you've actually made a reference that's gone, isn't this silly? We're going to point out how silly this is as a trope. And then what else have we got? And The Help, which I'm not even going to repeat what section that was.
Classic Pie.
The Classic Pie. And the Banana.
50 Shades as well.
50 Shades. 50 Shades.
Which the films weren't even in production.
So technically...
Oh, that's just a book thing. Yeah. So they beat the films too. I thought this feels a bit early for that.
So he is the first on-screen representation of Christian Grey.
Because it felt like they got the Inception stuff in so that they could rapid fire through different dreams that could just be whatever and then get out again.
Yeah.
And
it's not a bad idea if that's what you want to do to get to squeeze all of those in. Then that's not a bad way of doing it. I was writing them down as we went, and I ended up, without looking it up, I got Mama, Paranormal Activity, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Black Swan, Insidious, Inception, 50 Shades, and Evil Dead. I didn't realise they did a Cabin in the Woods, but I think they smushed Cabin in the Woods together with Evil Dead, to be honest.
I think that's more of just the concept. But the Evil Dead stuff was quite egregious, because it's like their one joke, it seemed, was they're going to say the words in the basement, everyone's going to go crazy, and then they'll undo it. And they do that, like 3 times in a row. We have the same exact sequence of them sat around being normal again, being like, oh, my arm's off. And then they all go nuts
they
again.
could
Then they
do
do it
torture
again.
porn
And it's
then.
like, we get it. We get
I
it.
actually
Move
think
on.
that was the one bit of the film I actually enjoyed. That was of all of the, and I'm not saying it was good, but of the entire film, that one section was probably the bit I enjoyed the most. I think because something was happening,
I mean, it
and
felt
it
like a
was
horror
referencing
spoof.
actual horror. Yeah,
that's true. And I did like the little wink that what's the girl from Modern Family's name?
Sarah Hyland.
Yeah, when she has the carver about to go to her tongue and she like looks at the camera and winks, you're like, that's clever, because obviously it's like pointing at the original film and be like, we know what we're doing with this. This is why it's, it's, if you're referencing the film and you're making a comment on the genre, that's funny. If you're just running around with Benny Hill music, I'm a bit, but although actually that was a little bit funny because you did expect them to have a full-on sex scene and it ended up being that. But there's some things in here. There's a lot of slapstick, a lot of people getting hit over the head by saucepans and stuff, and I'm like,
which is weird because Simon Rex is so good at that. And when all the slapstick bits in 3 with him, I kind of find funny.
good.
Like when he's like, kicking or throwing that kid out the window and stuff. It's like just the madcap of the ragdolling of the dummy and stuff. It's quite funny. Whereas here, it's just, I'm just gonna stick my head under a saucepan and get whacked with that. And it's,
it's because every time it was the saucepan joke. Whereas in 3, it's the same type of joke, but the setup is different every time.
That's true.
Whereas in this, it's the same saucepan. You're like, oh, I guess he's about to get hit in the head again.
Everything is first draft vibes, first draft, first thing that came to their heads.
I think shout out to one of my favorite jokes in Scary Movie 3 was when they, and I can't even remember it properly, but when they were coming out with their weapons and they had like shovels and like rakes and stuff, but they still cocked it like a shotgun. That's very Naked Gun. That very much made me laugh. But yeah, you're right. I think they've just forgotten what the essence of a joke is in this, and they've just gone for, I don't know, stuff that would make a baby laugh. I don't know.
It's the overextension of all the jokes as well.
That's
I was so bored of
they overstay their welcome massively.
The Ring camera-esque. I mean, the Ring cameras didn't exist at this point, but of the garden, of them chasing each other around the garden. I was like, we've done this now 3 times. Oh look, he's got a head wound, and she just has to keep redirecting him to the door, and it just seemed to.
Oh, when they were fighting outside.
So it might be because I watched the extended cut, but there were like multiple scenes where like he had the head wound and she brought him back from the hospital and she has to keep wandering off and has to bring him back. And then there's another similar scene where with the nanny and Simon Rex and he's running around after her with the fight. And they just went on and on and on a static cam and it lost humour. And then in the interview I read with Ashley Tisdale and Simon Rex, and a lot of the reshoots were like extending things they'd already done. So the Black Swan sex scene, she had already filmed a number of that in the first draft, and then they had her go back and like fuck the microwave and do these things, and they
didn't have enough material basically.
But
again,
like,
they tried to make something from nothing.
But then they're like in the first cut, they're like, oh, this bit's funny. Let's add another 5 minutes to this joke. Why?
Because that's famously how jokes work.
Keep flogging that dead horse. That'll make it funny again.
Oh man. So I think we're all in agreement that this was not funny. Did you make any notes around anything that did make you laugh?
Well, the only other, I said that laugh right at the start. The only other one was when Ashley Tisdale goes into the bathroom and it's the black swan writing on the mirror and she keeps moving along and then it's just Molly Shannon like in midway through writing the next thing like, oh
yeah, that's good. And I was laughing a little bit when she was trying to get into the bathroom stall with all her like with all her crutches and everything. And if you do watch until the end, there is outtakes of Ashley Tisdale struggling to keep her serious face, which I could totally understand. All I was thinking was if I was in a room trying to keep a straight face with Molly Shannon doing that, I would be laughing as well.
I laughed exactly once, and I don't even know why, but it was again during the Black Swan bit.
Oh, was it the stick figure?
No, it was when they were doing like the montage and they had like the scissors and then they had like the tacos. But it was the only bit that made me laugh was the tunnel. And it's a tunnel. And I'm like, I don't know what I expected to happen. I was like, a train's not going to come out. And
I'll tell you why that bit was the funniest versus the others. Because the other bit was just like, kind of obvious joke. It's kind of a bit like, playground humour with actual scissors and tacos and stuff. But that train euphemism has been done in films. Again, it's a self-reference thing that you've twisted, has been done so many times to represent that the fact that it was just this like Thomas the Tank Engine playset tunnel, it was just stupid. And again, very sort of airplane Naked Gun kind of humor. That did make me laugh as well. So just going back to the setup of the cast, I wrote down, didn't the brother die? Question mark. Because when Simon Rex came on, I was just like, hold on. In 4, I'm pretty sure they had killed him off, and that's why. But then we found out later that he's just playing a different character. But it's weird that they would have Charlie Sheen and him back.
Which is confusing because death has never stopped people before. Like,
that's
Regina
exactly
Hall dies
what I
every
thought.
movie, it seems.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's not an issue, really. So I didn't realise he was meant to be a different character. I thought he was the same character. Because I was like, well, he's still Charlie Sheen's brother. So I was like, I think he's the same character. But then I was like, Charlie Sheen is actually playing himself. So
wait, no, he wasn't Charlie Sheen's brother. And no, he was. He just became the adoptive father of his kid.
Which makes sense because in Mama, he's the uncle. So I just don't know why, like you say, there's an opportunity for a joke there to bring him back. So why? Yeah, it just seemed a bit like they gave up trying to make it make sense. And I did read a Reddit post about this film that basically concluded in all but certainty that a lot of these characters were obviously written for the previous cast, and then they didn't have them back. So you've got Ashley Tisdale in the main role, and then you've also got, I can't remember what is it.
I can't remember her name, but she's in the Regina Hall role.
Yes, essentially. Is it Erica Ash?
Erica Ash.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you've got those, and then you've also got, you've brought back Charlie Sheen and Simon Rex, but you've decided to give them different characters. But it just all kind of added up that it could have easily then been that cast, but they haven't made an effort to work with the cast that they've got. Or
I
think you can leave it there. They haven't made an effort. Full stop.
No, that's true.
The Anna Faris thing, there's different things. So there's the rumour that the Weinsteins wanted to completely reboot it so that they just didn't want her back. Then there's the thing that she was pregnant with her son when this was filming, so she was just busy being pregnant, because that seems tough. But then the thing is that she wasn't asked to come back. And in an episode of Watch What Happens Live, someone rang in to ask her what she thought of Scary Movie 5, and she said she never fully watched it. She's seen bits of it, but it's hard to tell what she's kind of making a joke of and what's true, but basically implies that she felt like she was too old and wasn't wanted back because she had got older,
right,
and that they wanted to refresh it with the young, hot people. And she says it in a joking manner, but it's kind of in everything written about this film does self-reference that. So it's the thing of, did she not want to come back, or was she not invited back because you're old now, let's replace you with a new hot person, but we'll bring back all the men.
Yeah, well, the other roles that it makes sense even for like multiple previous cast members were the Snoop Dogg and Mac Miller sections. So that could have been one of the, what was the,
like Anthony Anderson and Kevin Hart.
That's who it was meant to be originally, but they didn't want to come back.
You could even then have, which one's the Wayans brother that's the one who's high all the time. Like he would be, so you can see how they've in some ways that's a good thing. They've kept that rhythm, they've kept that structure, but they've exceedingly replaced people that can't hold.
It's like if the other Scary Movies are spoofs of horror films, Scary Movie 5 is almost like a spoof of Scary Movie.
Yeah,
it's
God,
like just
right.
one
it's
layer
like
just spills down
like the AI
from
copy thing. If you ask it to keep copying it just merges into
from people
else.
who weren't involved.
All I'll say is those scenes where Mac Miller, as much as it delighted my heart to see Mac Miller on screen, Mac Miller and Snoop Dogg, if it had been the previous two, which was Kevin Hart, and I can't remember this is where we're under researched, if I can never remember the names of all of the these last names are Anderson. If they'd have done it, I think it would have been a lot funnier, because I'm telling you, there was a scene in either 3 or 4 where they were talking about rats and mice, and I was in hysterics, where they were basically like, no, rats are for outside and then mice are for inside. So they're like, so what happens when one comes inside? It was actually a funny exchange, so I would have actually liked to see them.
Anthony Anderson,
Anthony
most known
Anderson.
for Blackish.
Oh, do you know what? I've never seen that, but
I've never seen it either, but I recognise his face from the random clips I see on Instagram.
He has an incredible dramatic turn in The Shield. He guest stars in The Shield for a couple of seasons, and he's amazing. Yeah.
Talking
Watch
of
that
Naked
instead
Gun.
of Transformers or Kangaroo Jack. There you go.
Oh. What about Romeo Must Die?
Oh, I remember that being quite fun. Jet Li.
Talking of the Naked Gun franchise, I did start watching the reboot earlier last night, and I jumped up out of my seat and pointed at the screen when I was like, CCH Founder's in this.
Yes, she is the chief.
Little podcast call out for you guys there.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic, and I do wonder how much that Naked Gun film from just last year is spearheading a return of Scary Movie anyway, and possibly other spoof films, because it really did feel that was the first spoof film of its kind to go all in on being a comedy in a long time.
I think Scary Movie as well, a lot of people for some reason a few years ago, I don't know if it was like post-pandemic because so many like casts did reunions during the pandemic, but they started just obsessively asking Anna Faris if she'd ever do another one, and so she was quite open. She's like, I'd only do it for Regina Hall and a big fat check. And so then Regina Hall was like, I too would do it for Anna Faris and a big fat check. And so then I think that's also, they were like, yes. And with the news of Naked Gun, you had what was Spinal Tap 2 that came out in the last few years.
Yeah, that's true.
Spaceballs 2, and then there's been a long rumoured Friedberg, is it Weltzer? What Seltzer. Friedberg Seltzer Star Wars parody that's been rumoured as long as we've been doing the podcast. But
I mean, Star Wars itself has become a parody at this point. You don't need to do that anymore.
Well, and Spaceballs is coming back, so
they've just moved on to a new genre to do loads of mega sequels and sequels again, haven't they? Because they've done horror, they've done like sci-fi fantasy. They're like, oh, what other thing can we reheat and ruin?
But yeah, no, it is the return of the parody. That's right. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I can shout out the one in the last 20 years that's incredible, which I'm sure I've talked about somewhere before, which is Black Dynamite from 2009. A blaxploitation film spoof, and it's brilliant, it's hilarious, it's pitched perfectly in that it could very much play as its own lost 70s sort of fun and wacky kind of crime comedy thriller, but then all the gags are incredible, the performances, the production of it, it's like a tight 88 minutes or something. It's Michael J. White in the lead. It did spawn an animated series spin-off, I think, but sadly never got a proper sequel. Michael J. White did come back a few years ago for a Western spoof called The Outlaw Johnny Black, which me and Spotlight co-host Liam were very much looking forward to. I have not yet to see it because apparently it wasn't good. Liam did watch it and said, yeah, it's like over 2 hours long, which is way too long for a comedy. It just feels very indulgent, but Black Dynamite is perfection, and that's where the spoof film peaked and ended.
The one that I want to watch, I've not seen, so I don't know. I believe it's meant to be a parody or a spoof. Is Walk Hard, the kind of parody and musical biopic.
It came before Black Dynamite, but yeah, that's one of the greatest films ever made.
You need to see that.
Yeah, it's been on my list. It's been on my list.
Yeah, no, it's definitive in many ways.
Especially when shit like Michael is still not learning lessons from.
That's all I always hear is how a musical biopic still going when that proved how much they're not needed.
Yeah.
But I'll get to it.
I'll think about his whole life before he goes on stage. That's all.
You made me think, though, and it was briefly mentioned earlier, around the Wayans brothers offshooting for their own parodies. So they did, I think they've done 2 haunted house films now, but the first one was in the same year as this, and you mentioned, Claire, this is why they didn't, multiple reasons why they didn't come back for this, but they've done their own, and they did like a 50 Shades one, right? I think it was 50 Shades of Black that they did, but I don't know.
Did they also do Paranormal Blacktivity, or is that someone else?
I'm not sure.
Is that a real thing?
Paranormal Activity, yeah.
So yeah, Michael Tiddies, who's directing Scary Movie 6. Yeah, he did Haunted House 1 and 2 and 50 Shades of Black with those guys.
Okay, there you go. So it's all sort of. So actually, in order to maybe understand where Scary Movie 6 / Scary Movie will lie, is to watch those films and see. But apparently a haunted house is good, but I don't know. I think it probably is good for the people that still think Scary Movie holds up. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think Scary Movie holds up if you watch it with the grace of the time it was released.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the impact that it had for cinema at the time is like undeniable. Everyone was quoting it, no matter what your politics were when you were younger and you were a kid, everyone was quoting it, including me, and for two as well. But, you know, times have changed and people have learned, and therefore it's much harder to find a lot of these things funny when you realise why people thought they were funny in the first place.
But it's fine because racism's cool again, so
racism's back, baby.
Everyone's gonna love the new one.
But then it is made by, you know, it's made by black directors and writers, so we'll see. It'll probably just be homophobia's back, maybe.
One ridiculously stupid nitpick I have with Scary Movie 5. I know it makes sense for the poster, but the 5 is a V and all the other ones are numbers. And that's clearly so they could just slap the 5V in the movie. But it stands out like a sore thumb and I hate it.
So I realised at the top of the call, I didn't even mention what the rating was. Top of the call. I'm not at work. Top of the recording. Didn't mention what the rating was for this. So interestingly, this is also a 3.6, as was Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Ooh.
Exactly the same score. But it's got a little more, about 20,000 more votes. So this has got 84,000 votes. I do love how they're adding that now. It just gives you a bit of more of a understanding of how popular the film is of itself. And it was number 66, so right on that 2/3 mark on the bottom 100.
Not to put you off piece, but did you notice that there's a random new entry in the middle of the bottom 100 from the 90s?
Did not. What was that?
Lawnmower Man 2.
Ooh. Oh.
So I don't know why. Apparently a lot of people just suddenly, for some reason, watch Lawnmower.
Yeah, but I've heard...
And it's come in at like number 50 or something. It's not even, usually, one of the ones that drips in and out of the 90s. It's gone bang in the middle.
So usually when there's these kinds of films, because I look at the most popular list every week to check out some trailers, usually there's like a channel in the, because there's always some like random like sci-fi or horror films that come in, and I'm like, why is this popular this week? And it's usually because there's like a specific channel in the US where they screen older films, like more kind of B-movie kind of stuff or classic stuff, and usually that can be potentially why that's come back into the zeitgeist. But I'm just looking now to see.
I wonder if it was like just under the limit of how many reviews you needed, maybe. And it like got tipped over, and that's why it came in so bang in the middle.
Wait, 2 weeks ago, hacker takes over robot lawnmower and runs over innocent man.
Yeah.
Could that have spawned some Lawnmower Man?
Oh, was that a real story?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah. I wonder if that
Florida man 3 weeks ago. Florida man drives lawnmower through Target doors in botched TikTok scam.
You're putting the pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, 2 teens arrested for driving lawnmower into Target. I mean, potentially it's a lot. It's a tenuous.
People out there trying to search Lawnmower Man, finding Lawnmower Man 2 beyond cyberspace, and going, all right, play. Oh, this is terrible.
So back to Scary Movie 5. So as expected, the film was panned by critics. Matt, you're good at box office. You love a bit of box office. If I give you the budget, do you want to guess how much it made? So it's a budget of $20 million. Do you want to guess how much it grossed?
I mean, coming off, these things always do quite well. So maybe double it, maybe 40 mil.
78.4 million. So it did not do too bad on its budget, but it is the worst reviewed and lowest grossing film in the Scary Movie franchise.
That'll kill it.
Yeah. And it had the lowest grossing opening weekend for a film in the franchise as well. It wasn't screened in advance for critics, Kelsey Priest, and they earned 3 nominations at our Razzie Awards, including, any guesses? Oh, Claire, do you know?
I know, and I think they're unfair.
Oh yeah, of course they are, because the Razzies hate women.
So it's Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan for supporting actor and actress.
They got combo.
Okay, so I know Lindsay Lohan got a supporting actress, and then they got the combo.
Yeah.
And then it's just remake, rip-off, or sequel.
Incredible work. Well done. Indeed.
I read it less than 24 hours ago. It shouldn't have taken me that long.
No, Still, it was also nominated for Worst Picture and Worst Movie of the Year at Houston Film Critics Society Awards and Golden Schmoes, respectively. Director Malcolm D. Lee was very critical of the film, quoting, "It was just a bad movie, believe me. Don't bother going to see that movie or renting it or anything." Oh, I rented it. "It's not worth your time."
When the director's telling you that.
Yeah, exactly.
The interview I read about him, it was like a retrospective of his life, and he has every movie he's ever directed. He's got a poster in his house, and the Scary Movie 6 one is opposite the bathroom door, just next to the toilet.
I mean, does it even count when he like actually didn't
directed less, like 40% or less of the film?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Any guesses on the Rotten Tomatoes critics and audience scores?
I feel like audience
like 0 for critics. Surely, is it one of the rare zeros?
Close. No, it's not.
I'm gonna say audience is in the 20s.
Higher. 38% for audience, which is crazy. But I guess again, it's like if you see it, most people that would rate it lower aren't seeing it. That's the thing with these sequels. 4% for critics, so very close, very close. Consensus is juvenile even by Scary Movie standards. This 5th installment offers stale pop culture gags that generate few laughs. Fair play. Average of 11 on Metacritic. Few of my favourite reviews coming out of that. New York Times gave it 30. Marlon Wayans' satire, A Haunted House, got to paranormal first, and for a much smaller budget, delivered bigger laughs. So I'm actually really keen to check that one out and compare and contrast. The Entertainment Weekly said somehow it actually looks cheaper than Paranormal Activity, and it's less funny too. AV Club, Scary Movie 5 aspires to timeliness, but its comic sensibility so groaningly retro that the film features a series of tributes to the Benny Hill Show, also mentioned there. And, this one is a 5, film.com. Scary Movie 5 is so massively unenjoyable, a hate crime against cinema, a ringing indictment of the depths commercialism will go in search of the lowest common denominator. Do love the low reviews there. It had a 1.7 on Letterboxd with only 103 fans, so only 103 people have liked this, but it's still got a C- on Cinema Score, because again, if you're going to go see it, there's a reason, there's a level of expectation there that you're going to get what you sign up for.
You come out being like, I paid some money for this, I'm going to pretend I liked a bit of it for my own sanity.
Exactly. Any final closing remarks on Scary Movie 5?
I found a couple of interesting Letterboxd reviews.
Oh, yes, please, take it away.
So 0.5 star from Scott Anderson back in 2014. I want to rant about how awful this film is. I really want to. I won't though. Why? Because it occurred to me I didn't have to watch Scary Movie 5 in the first place. But I did. In a world where so many great films exist, I sat through this. The only person I should be angry at is myself, for shame. And I was like, yes, that's how I feel when we watch these films.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then I did do another one, which is absolutely what Matt said earlier at the top of the episode. 0.5 star from Pippin Sky, who watched it in October. Feels like a bootleg of its own franchise. Absolute dog shit.
I actually did screenshot a few as well. So Matt Singer gave it 2 stars. Of all the Scary Movies, this is the latest.
For now.
And Clara gave it 0.5 star, saying, I urgently need to seek employment. We love a little pithy Letterboxd review. Any final thoughts before we do some ratings?
There was just one thing I wanted to shout out, and I think we've covered a lot of the content of it, but there's a really good 9-minute video on YouTube. I think it's about 9 minutes, from CabManJames called What Happened to Scary Movie and Why It Fell Apart. And it tracks 1 through 5 of the franchise and the lead up to 6, and how the Wayans were pulled out, and again the elements that we've touched on of parodies then just becoming sight gags rather than actually funny. But if you're interested in parodies and you're interested in the Scary Movie franchise and just the history of film, it's really lovely little video essay, so I'll link that in the details.
I think it's such a fascinating example of how some people just aren't funny, like inherent. How come having a comedic funny bone is such an inherent thing to some people? Like Anna Faris can say anything and it's funny, and there's loads of people like that where you put these people as straight roles in comedy films and they're funny because of that. And then Ashley Tisdale, like bless her, she's fine here, but she's not naturally funny in the same way. And when someone who's just not naturally funny tries delivering funny stuff on paper, it dilutes it even more. And so you just become hyper aware that this is somebody just trying to be funny, and then that disengages the desire to laugh anyway. And that's even if the joke's any good, of which 90% of these are not.
That's such
So
a good point.
it's such a hard, I think comedy is so difficult. And I remember there was a lot of talk around like who would be the new Leslie Nielsen for the new Naked Gun before it was Liam Neeson. And Neeson makes a lot of sense because he does have that sort of dryness that is funny. And I think he is actually very funny in Naked Gun as well. But there's some other people, I was always championing for Michael Shannon to be it, just because he's so stony faced and known for being quite serious. I think if you take someone like that, but you see him in something like Knives Out where he is really funny as well. So there's certain people I wouldn't naturally consider for comedy that I think if you gave them the chance and put them in there, they'd be great. And then obviously just people who are comedians straight through and they're fab. And so I think the bulk of this cast, unfortunately, just feels like that other type of people who just aren't really that funny, thinking being in a spoof film and saying funny lines is going to be enough. And it's like, we're aware that it's not.
You get Molly Shannon show up in a scene and you're like, right, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm ready now. Come on, Molly, let's go. Because, you know, she walks onto the street. I'm already primed for laughter because of the way she holds herself. So you're right. I didn't even think about that. You know, casting and performances is something that we usually really hone in on these films. On films generally. But for some reason with like the parody side of things, it's almost like they're more of a vessel for the jokes. But you know, it can make or break something because a good comedic actor can make a bit of a naff joke work just because then their presence is naturally amusing. So very, very good point. All right, so shall we do some ratings? Although to be honest with you, I haven't even really thought about where, or have I? Oh no, I did.
Oh, my partner was really disappointed you hadn't done a review or rating on Letterboxd. He was
don't.
waiting.
I don't for when we're recording because spoilers. And also, I do like to, if we're doing films like this, sometimes I like to wait to hear everyone's point of view in case I do get. Usually, if it's just like a general film, I don't want to hear other people's opinions first. But usually with these, I go in too high, and for this, I definitely have. I think I need to update my what I wrote down straight afterwards. So,
oh God, it's going to offend me, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will. Do you guys want to go ahead first?
Matt, gentleman first?
Yeah. So in 10 or 11 years, I've rated 13 films half a star on Letterboxd, and this is the latest.
What are some others in the club? Do you remember?
Well, eight of the 13 are White Guy Karate Summer films that me and Daryl touched on last time. So just some terrible direct-to-video karate film. These are the ones that are like barely functioning as a film. Like either the
that's the
print
thing.
is
That's
too
where
dark
our scale
and
goes, right?
Yeah,
our scale does go down that low, and we have to.
So
be,
I've kind of kept them down there, but the other ones are. I mean, The Room is in there, but that's half a star and a heart because, you know, it is kind of fun. Halloween 2007, the first Rob Zombie remake. I
didn't think it was that
disagreed
bad
with every approach to the whole thing in that. A film called Aquaslash from 2019, which is a horror film set in a water park. You think that'd be a slam dunk. It's completely atrocious.
Oh, no.
And Paul Dano's debut, The Newcomers from 2000 with Kate Bosworth and a young Chris Evans. Terrible. So I toyed with giving Scary Movie 5 like a 1 star, but I was like, you know what? It's bad. It's terribly made, and it's just offensive to all watching and listening to it in every conceivable way. So I thought, no, this is a deserving of a half star. And in my review, I said, if one of your main spoof subjects for your horror parody film is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I fear you're more than a little off track. Insert name here is no insert name here from any other Scary Movie, but for the whole cast, even people who are in the other films, made me want to go and stand in the garden and stare at clouds for a few hours. Which I did, and I felt a bit better.
Okay, good. I'm so sorry that we put you through that. Claire?
I went 1.5 star. I don't really know why, other than it was just lower than the other ones, because it's definitely the worst. My half star ratings are a mess because a lot of them are from when I first got my letterbox, and any film that I just actively disliked, I gave half a star to, and it's not quite right, but I'm too lazy to go back. I don't want to rewatch them all to reevaluate
No, that's
them.
it. Yeah.
I'm going to see what your most egregious half a star is. Carry on.
It's probably a Lord of the Rings film.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I hate Lord of the Rings.
Oh wait, no, it's one of the Hobbits. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the Hobbits is fine.
But yeah, so I did 1.5 stars just because that just felt right. And my review is it elicited one singular chortle from me because I say I laughed at that joke with the tunnels. I don't even know if it was a laugh so much as an exhalation of air, but
or even just an acknowledgement that is funny. I think that's the main thing for me. I don't even think like, and this happens to me sometimes when I'm in shutdown mode anyways, that I just go like completely like power saving mode, but my brain will go, that's funny, but I won't actually. I'll be like stone faced completely.
I got told off. I don't know, I think it was a friend rather than a date, but I went to the cinema with someone once and they were like, you don't really laugh, and I'm like, I found the movie really funny. They're like, you didn't laugh once, and it's like, it just didn't need to like out loud. Whereas then I had a friend who laughed so loudly that we actually like we went to see Sex and the City, so like it was funny, but it's not like a raucous, and we actually thought other cinema goers were going to make a complaint.
Oh my god!
Like,
really?
I don't need to performatively make sounds to know that something's funny.
Yeah.
I'm bouncing between. I originally wrote 2, but mainly just because it was easy for me to watch at the time, and that is something that I actually value, because there's so many films where I just find them such a slog to get through. But this is just because it was easy on the brain doesn't mean it's good. So
I found this the biggest slog of anything I've watched recently, probably the whole year. I think this might be my worst rated of the year so far, because I genuinely found it painful. I was making my dinner at the time, and by making my dinner I mean I put things from the freezer into the oven, and it was a genuine relief when I could pause the film to go and check on the food in the oven. And I noticed at one point I had returned from the kitchen and was just sitting in silence rather than pressing play again.
it really does sit in between that for me, because I'm looking at my 2 stars and I'm looking at my 1.5 stars. Do you know what? I'm gonna go with 1.5, because evaluating it as the series, I'm just trying to remember. So
that's got to be the lowest of the series, right?
Yeah. So Scary Movie 1 and 2, I gave 2.5. Scary Movie 3, I gave 3. 4, I gave 2. Because I think with 4, although like I maybe preferred when some of the comedy when it did hit, it was a lot fewer and further.
It's kind of
between
low energy. I got the feeling that either they
was a
didn't
bit
want
of a mess.
Anna Faris didn't seem to be as engaged as previously, and I don't know if it was a script issue or a her issue, but like a lot of the physical comedy was a lot less in Scary Movie 4, and it was very much on the Tom Cruise standing rather than her. It felt like they were trying to guide her out almost.
Yeah, and I think that's what didn't quite work for me. Yeah. But actually, that was better than this one, so I do think this needs to be a 1.5.
Yeah, my rating scale went 3 stars for the first, 2.5 for 2 and 3, then 1.5 for 4, and now half for 5.
Let's see mine
so
while I'm here then.
Nowhere to go but up for number 6.
3 for 1, 2 for 2, back to 3 for 3, 2.5 for 4, and then 1.5 for this. And I think 2.5 for 4 was generous, but I was like, it did at least attempt to have a narrative. Like in my review, I pointed out that like it didn't even attempt to be funny, and it was mostly boring, but it had a consistent narrative. It mostly just made me want to watch War of the Worlds again.
Well, I'd recently watched it last year, so I do think I benefited from that. So are we in agreement then as a whole that we think 3 as a team, probably we all enjoyed that, 3 of us, as opposed to, I know Claire, I think you rated.
I rated 3 3. Yeah, 1 and 3, I gave 3 stars each.
Yeah.
Which is how I felt going into this. I remember liking 1, I remember disliking 2, and then being pleasantly surprised by 3, which is again how I felt in the.
I think that's the commonality between us, is that we all, there
I think 1 is the best film, and 3 is maybe the funniest overall.
Yeah.
Despite myself, I feel terrible, but yeah.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so given that this is a bottom 100 film, do we think it deserves its ranking on there? And if not, do we want to replace it with something else? But I think I know what the answer is.
No, I think it definitely deserves to be on there. Like, there's a few of the ones you guys will be covering, and even Mortal Kombat Annihilation that me and Daryl spoke to last time that I don't think, well, actually maybe that on there. But this one, yeah, I think it's tough to not just populate the bottom 100 with all of these shitty spoof ones.
Parodies,
And
yeah,
I'm
100%.
sure like Meet the Spartans and all that also deserve to be on there. But if we're just looking at scary movies, if one of them was going to be on there, it's definitely
That's
this.
true.
This is the worst.
That's true. I wouldn't necessarily say the other ones need to be on the bottom 100, like 1 to 4. Definitely
No,
not. Not to say
this
they're
can
the
be the
best things ever, but
representative
yeah.
of the worst.
If we're looking, I do think there's a line between 1 and 4 and this.
Yeah.
And you know, like I wholeheartedly agree that I think you could fill the whole bottom 100 with these parody spoof things. But given that, you know, the rules are that they need to be seen and reached by a certain number of people, I think this is probably going to be the highest seen one out of them all. Maybe not, but you know, in terms of the recognition of the name, it's got reputation. It definitely, you know, as a scary movie, should be on the bottom 100. I think.
I personally feel like it actually should be like, I don't know if you'd say lower or higher, but like it
Yeah.
should. It shouldn't be in the 50s. It's in
It
the
should
50s
rank
or 60s.
higher
It
on
should
the
rank
bottom
higher. It
100.
should be in like the 20s or 30s. Like I was just quickly scrolling while you were talking, and like there's a lot. We've covered a real range of the 100, but like I think this is as bad as Date Movie, and Date Movie is at 25. Now it doesn't have quite so much of the offensiveness as Date Movie, but I feel like it should be in the same ballpark as Date Movie.
And
it feels
is
like
it
this
got
whole...
the same amount of votes, Date Movie? How many is that got? Because I'm just wondering how
is
they're
that
rating
what's
it.
in the brackets after
Yes.
the rating? Okay, so Date Movie has 64k, and how much did you say this had?
This had like 84k.
Oh, interesting.
So
But
it
like,
is just rated lower.
Glitter is 27. I don't think Glitter is in any way, shape, or form a worse film than this. Glitter is 2.5 with 25k votes.
Yeah.
And
See, I think a big difference is there are films out there that, like, this one is just cynically put together. It's botched from the beginning. Nobody cared. Whereas a lot of bad films out there, they tried to be good. They tried to put something out. Everything was legit, and it just didn't work. And it's got a lot of people's actual heart and passion in. And that might happen for a lot of bad films, but there's only a few, of which Scary Movie 5 seems to be one of them, where it feels like nobody gave a shit. They're just trying to make a buck. They just hashed it all together.
They just pissed off someone
producing.
else is getting money from what they did first, and they still, the company still has the rights to the name, and are like, boof.
Yeah, and when even the director is saying "fuck this," then
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful way to end the episode, Matt, because I think it encompasses exactly what we've been finding on this journey and why we enjoy doing what we do, which is, you know, they are fewer and farther between. I think the ones that are genuinely cynical and like sort of mean spirited or just all cobbled together and not really put any effort in. A lot of these have got other reasons why they didn't work for people. So yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that you came along this scary movie journey with us. You accepted the challenge, even though it was not your choice.
If you don't get into any press screenings, we should all go see 6.
I think that we
together,
should. I think we have to. Yes, absolutely. Knowing how much we love to talk and specifically about movies, we have decided that we are going to continue our top 3s for each episode, but we're going to have them as a separate mini podcast for continued listening if you'd like to check that out. So we will be sharing a top 3 based on Scary Movie 5's themes on a separate episode. But for now, that wraps up for this episode. Please do get in touch if you've seen this film, if you love or hate the Scary Movie franchise, if you're going to be seeing the new one. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at WRatedPod and on Letterboxd at WRated. Matt, would you like to share where people can find you and anything you'd like to plug at the moment?
Yeah, you can find me at Matt Brothers on Blue Sky and Matt_Bro on Letterboxd. And my podcast is Paul Dano Ok, which me and Daryl Bear have been and have completed everything Mr. Paul Dano has done. So we've been doing side seasons on other character actors, and we'll be soon beginning our Andowed season, well Andowed, of which you guys both will be guest starring. And yeah, that'll be kicking off from June 19th, which is Paul Dano's birthday and traditionally a release day of an episode for us. So we're latching onto that as the beginning of that season, where we'll be covering Philadelphia, Jonathan Demme's Philadelphia, with David Trumbull, friend of the show and animation story artist supreme. So that's a brilliant episode. And yeah, it's been a really fun season. We're running a poll at the moment to decide who our next subject will be, and we'll get on to recording that in the rest of the summer while we've got more free time.
Is that vote closing?
That vote's closing about middle of July, I think.
Oh, so that will still be live when this comes out.
Yeah,
so people go and vote.
Go
Yes,
find
absolutely.
us on Instagram, and you'll find the link in our bio. You can choose between Clifton Collins Jr., Elliot Page, Louise Guzman, John Carroll Lynch, Keith David, and William Sadler are our contenders.
Keith David, because I specifically want you to touch on Community season 6, because I'm doing a Community rewatch at the moment.
This is exactly the same, because I just kept thinking of him in Community and anything else he pops up in, to be honest. So I'm a Keith David supporter.
He's so good. We both saw him recently, didn't we, Daisy? In that Mike and Alice and
yes,
whatever that film was. He was the
Nick and Mike and
Nick and that. Yeah.
Mike and Nick,
but yeah,
and Alice.
he's doing his best scene stealing in that as well. So yeah,
absolutely. Please do go check out the guys' podcast. You've got so many of your offshoot seasons now of character actors that you can, as well as all the Paul Dano episodes, that so much to catch up on, and then this new season coming out soon as well. And make sure you get your vote in for their poll.
Yes.
Claire, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, find me Clare Ellen Hope, Clare without an I, anywhere on the internet. That's pretty much my username on most social media if I have it. And yeah, that's about it. Not really pushing anything at the moment. If you like cute fluffy cats, check out my Instagram. It's often cute fluffy cats. I'm surprised they haven't broken in. They've obviously gone to sleep in the nice sun.
They did not have anything to say about Scary Movie 5, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not really on social anymore. But if you do happen to be looking for me, I'm at Daisy Vic Edwards on X/Twitter, and then Daisy Victoria Edwards on Instagram. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you for everyone joining this recording today. If you enjoyed listening to our podcast, please do give us a follow or subscribe, and if you're feeling generous, a rating and review. And we hope you join us for the next episode, where we take on our next worst rated film. See you then. Bye. Bum, 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 bum.